Spooky Stories with Crimson.
Hi YouTube, it's Crimson and welcome to the channel. Today I'm bringing you a little bit of a treat. We are going to be telling some spooky stories, me and my friend Bubbles. I am currently house sitting for my dad and we are staying here, taking care of my doggo. I can introduce him. Come here, Friday. There he is. He's really old, so he's got a little white face and little white hairs all over, but if you hear him, then he may be in this video too. But, so to start off this video, we're gonna go back and forth talking about our scary stories, but there was one that I was in the middle of telling Bubbles that I will continue on camera, and it was about me dog sitting for my dad this weekend. So if you're into scary stories and you want to hear this one, then keep on watching. We were discussing that I was having some feelings about coming here. Something to know is that my grandmother did pass away recently. The good news is she did not pass away in this house. So that wasn't the part that was making me feel spooky, but I just kind of felt like there was like things here. And when I agreed to house sit, I had some dreams leading up to me staying here for about the last week, and I was having a repeat dream where I was laying in the spare bedroom that I knew I'd be laying in, that my dad set up for me. I keep in mind I've never spent the night at my dad's house. I have my own place, and I've been with, my partner for so long, so we've had a place together. I've just never stayed here.
But we're grown-ass women.
Yes, so I've never needed to stay here. I've never spent the night here. But, so the spare room, like, I know what the house looks like, but leading up, I was getting feelings. I was having dreams about staying in the spare room, and it's like, I knew exactly what the layout was, and the bed is, like, back against the wall, and then the door is right here, and there's a hallway that leads to the bathroom, the computer room, and my grandmother's room that she is staying in, which is not weird because,
No bad energy. In fact, just a lovely bedspread.
Thank you. She did like her comfy stuff. So there's no weird energy of like my grandmother here, except good energy. Like sometimes it still feels like she's like here, but just because it's residual energy. This was her house. Her things are still here. Her decorations are still in the wall, but no bad energies. But my dream I was having, so I'm laying in the bed, and then in that hallway, my door was closed in my dream, and I could hear footsteps, the very kind of like
Very stereotypical Civil War, I'm marching down the hall.
Pretty much, and they were not fast-paced, and they were kind of heavy and very deliberate, and I could see, like, under the crack of the door, I could see, like, the shadow move and the light of the door, and that's the same dream that I had repeating up to being here.
Like how many days? Like 2, 3?
I think I had it probably at least 2 or 3 times where I just had this almost like, dooming feeling of coming to stay here because of that. And so my first night here, Bubbles was gonna stay, but it didn't work out the first night, so I was truly alone, and I didn't want my dream to come true, so I kept the door actually cracked, and then my dog Friday laid in the door, like literally between the hallway and the door, like right in the doorway, just kind of guarding us, or guarding me, which made me feel really good, and I eventually fell asleep, and he eventually fell asleep at my side in his bed, so, it was fine. However, I will say why I started this story was to tell you that I did have some nervous energy about my dream, and I don't think it was my grandmother, but I do think there are things here. So, what I wanted to tell you, and we actually...
Do you not like us talking about this or something?
He might need to go out.
Possibly.
He wants to go, like, outside in the back, but I'm not letting him in the back.
Again, I know you said besides the hawk energy back there, I don't know why, but...
Yeah.
The trees back there bug me.
So, my dog survived being picked up by either a hawk, which we believe, or a giant owl in the backyard. This was a couple years ago. But we think the backyard, like nobody takes the dog out to go out in the backyard anymore. No one really hangs out back there, like sometimes maybe, but backyard is just not great energy because the poor dog is 9 pounds and got lifted by a hawk, and like, you know, he survived that, and it was a crazy thing, and he had to have surgery and staples, and
this is an example of white women ain't scared of nothing, because I'm pretty sure somebody attacked the hawk to get the dog back.
no, so the hawk, well, I'm assuming Friday, that's my dog's name, was heavy enough to where he wiggled out of the hawk's arms, or the hawk let him go, and it was just over the fence, which the dogs can't dig under or go over, and he was laying in the creek behind the house, which was the most horrific part, because my dad found him pretty much just in time before he, you know, like drowned or something worse, which that would have been the worst.
That would have been the worst. Yeah, no, that would be a traumatic way for a pupper to die.
So I think he needs to go out, so we're gonna pause and come right back. Taking the dog back out. Where were we in our story?
You were gonna tell me how you finished the first night, but there was still weird energy.
Yes, so the reason why I was having those weird dreams, so before I house sat, because that was my first night, I was very nervous about my dream and stuff. And this is the part of the story that Bubbles, I made her wait so I could pull out my camera. So I went to talk to my dad about it and tell him how I was feeling, and I told him about the dreams, and he just kind of looked at me. And if anybody knows my dad, he's not really someone where like paranormal things or like things like that just don't happen to him. So when they do, he's like, holy crap, that just happened to me. But like, he's not a full skeptic, and he's just skeptical enough to like make things logical. And if he can't make it logical, he's like,
well, it would like,
yeah,
it's Sherlock. It's like if nothing in the universe can explain it, then it's the only thing that's left.
Pretty much, yeah. So he said that, I think he said he was getting ready for work, which would have been super early in the morning, like probably before 6 a.m. maybe.
So about when I get ready?
Yeah. Told me that the house has shadow people.
Fuck. Because I don't know if you remember, but shadow people are my thing. Those are what I see.
In your story, yes. So my dad said he came upstairs. So I'm going to point to Bubbles to tell the story, and then I will show it on camera. But he came upstairs. He said standing by the stove, kind of like in the foyer where the front door is, he said he saw essentially a figure of a human silhouette, if you will, standing by the stove near it. I don't remember if he said it was facing him. I don't think he said it was. But he said he saw it, and then he said that he looked at it a second, and then it went, and the only place to go is the front door, which no one uses because we pretty much go through the garage, or the hallway, which is what I was having the dreams about.
Yeah.
So that was the part, that's the spookiest part. My dad be seeing fucking shadow people in his own house, and he's not a paranormal
He's not like your
person.
mom, he's not like us, he's not like, hey, let's go do spooky
He's not a
stuff.
spooky queen, yeah.
Right.
The other thing, actually there is one more thing. So, before there were 2 dogs living here, my other dog, Bilbo was his name, like Bilbo Baggins, rest in peace. He did die at the vet, but it was very abrupt. So sometimes they swear they see shadow dog. So lower figure dog, and before they actually told me that they could hear the jingling of the collar late at night. Now Friday, because of all of his just being an old man dog now, he doesn't wear a collar anymore, so he doesn't jingle anymore, like with his little like tags and stuff. Bilbo had his collar on to his death, essentially. Again, he passed. Good boy. Bilbo passed at the vet.
Yeah.
And sometimes they hear the jingles, which I have not heard since I've been here, but Dad has said he's seen like shadow dog go past, like something his size.
Right.
Go by. And I'm thinking of all this crap that goes down, my dad's the only one seeing real spooky stuff.
I keep
When he
thinking
does
he's-
that, he's too excited.
But I'm used to cats, so I'm thinking he's about to puke.
He just needs to cough it out,
Yeah.
kind of. That's my spooky story for this time. Is I was having weird feelings, and my dad confirmed to me there's shit in the house, but he did say this was a long time ago. So he's been living in this house for a while. I don't remember when, give or take, let's say maybe a couple years. But
I will
the
say,
Bilbo thing was like 2 years ago.
yeah.
And the shadow person may have been before that.
Okay. I will say, so Crimson spooked me when I first came here by myself because she warned me about the backyard having bad energy. She did not finish it with it's because of Friday getting picked up by the hawk. So I spent my entire first afternoon just trying to feel this place out. I stared into the trees. I stared around this house. I kind of just stood in places. I will say,
Feeling the energy.
yeah, basically, that is not an entryway. That stained glass gives me bad vibes.
You know what? Oh, you just gave, literally, dude, you just gave me cold.
I got it too. And
Because, well, I mean, I guess UPS drivers drop shit off, but it's so weird you said that because before, like this morning, like I was literally standing up against that stained glass, like touching it because the dog was barking. What the hell? You know, like what are you barking at? There's literally nothing here. So sometimes I've caught him barking at the reflection of the light, which I can assume goes through that stained glass door. But I agree. If Dad saw something dip out in that little foyer area and the hallway is the closest thing to that, I could see that giving off like weirdness.
Again,
and hallways. Why are hallways so creepy?
Again, the stained glass specifically, it really is one of those where I'm like, that feels like a trick.
Ooh.
I don't know why. Because again, she freaked me out about the backyard, so I went and stared in the backyard, and I was like, nothing's wrong with this backyard. I got no bad juju, except for when I stared in the trees for a little too long, but we're in the Rockies, not the Appalachian Mountains, so...
The backyard only has bad energy because of
Yeah.
the dog, and that's pretty much it. I want to now show you guys what I mean by the foyer area. I want to show you what my dad described, essentially. Okay, so you hang back a little bit. So this is where my dad said he essentially saw the figure, and then he said when it disappeared, he said it dipped around the corner. Now it could have gone this way, but this is where I imagined it going because this hallway, show hallway, is where my dream was happening, and this room is where I'm staying in, and then my grandmother's room is right there. And then we have the computer room and like the bathroom. But, so the hallway leading here and the front door we never use. This is the front door and the stained glass that we speak of. So, I don't think there's a light. Let me see. Oh, there is a light. Okay, so if the spirit would have dipped out over here, then, you know, that's technically the entryway of the house, which is a good point to make. Because, like, we use the garage, but you're right, this is technically an entryway. I'm getting, like, this has become a ghost hunting episode. Like, I'm feeling shit.
Well, it's super weird that I called it stained glass when it's not. It's just decorative.
Glass.
I don't know. Maybe it's... Again, that's weird. But it gives stained glass vibes, I guess.
Well, here, come closer.
Is it stained glass? And we just can't...
Like a tree pattern in there, almost.
Like a little...
And it's
frost
all of
ferns
this.
kind of thing.
Yeah, like frost ferns.
Yeah, frost ferns.
So, but yeah, the entryway of the house, this being a thing.
I didn't like my
It's
reflection
heavy
in
here.
it. Yeah, I didn't like my reflection in it.
So
So-
let me turn the light off. Okay, so I am in the spare room, and I wanted to kind of show you what my dream felt like and looked like. So we're gonna have Bubbles reenact essentially what what I'm hoping to show you. So here's me laying in the bed. There's the door. Go for it. Okay, so that's essentially the shadow, footsteps were a little harder in my dream. Like,
Right, like maybe a guy walking in some boots.
my dad always wore boots too.
Yeah.
So, but the shadow was caught. If it was a little slower, but that's literally what I imagined. Hold on.
What's up?
We're gonna go investigate. I think I just hear the lamp going. We have a seashell lamp and it just blows in the wind, and
It scared me. I'll be honest.
it's definitely it's like wind chimes constantly, but inside. Okay, I think we're fine.
And we do have the air going, so we do know it's like from that.
Yes. I'm actually gonna shut this because I don't like being a fishbowl. So shut your blinds and curtains at night, people. I leave a little bit of crack for natural lighting. So that's essentially the weird shit that's going on at my dad's. Luckily, we don't really have an update other than just the weird feelings and the weird dream I had. But, yeah, I don't know. The portal thing, maybe.
I'm saying that is not an entrance. That's...
If it's not an entrance, because it's technically the entryway of the house, what do you think it is? Because, like, would it not be, like, something that the spirits could enter in the house in?
Again, it's... Okay, when I say it's not an entrance, I mean it is not a welcoming entrance. It is... You are not welcomed into this place through that. That is what I mean. I mean, like, yeah, it's a physical entrance and it can be a spiritual one, but it's one of those where I'm like, this is not the door you want to go through.
Fair.
So I guess that's the best way I can describe it.
I feel like that energy is also stronger kind of in the evenings at night, because if that's when Dad experienced it, plus that's when, like, stuff settles and you recognize things too.
Right, when things are out of place, when...
Yeah, so people go ghost hunting at night and do stuff at night because everything is quiet, you know? Everything is at rest. Literally, the world is asleep. There's not that much traffic. People are not moving around doing things. You can focus on energies. You can focus on, like, if you were outside, you could focus on nature and, like, the things that you hear every day but you don't normally pay attention to. Like, hopefully nothing necessarily happens. Would be creepy cool if it did, but I don't really want that to happen while I'm house sitting.
Yeah, no, it's again, we love the fun and the creepies, but let's not actually participate.
Sometimes, yes, especially in a house that we want to visit again.
Yeah.
Maybe if it was like an abandoned house that we would literally never go back to.
Yeah, no, this is our family's home, and, like, if that thing hasn't bugged your dad, it is weird that it's bugging you.
The dream thing is very weird, but I would say I'm pretty intuitive as well. So maybe my intuition was picking up on the spirit before even arriving here, because, again, my dad doesn't.
Yeah, your dad wouldn't even think to tell you about it.
No.
Like, you had to physically...
Well, actually,
yeah,
he did think to tell me about it.
Oh, yeah?
Because when I brought it to his attention that I was having weird dreams and feelings.
Yeah.
And he literally... and I'm just remembering this as I'm saying it, but he literally was like, I was gonna tell you about that. So if he had weird feelings about me staying there, he's like, I thought you might be nervous because...
Oh.
Insert scary story about shadow person.
Right.
But good luck.
Right? Thanks for watching the dog.
Yeah. So that is, now that I think about it, that is strange, but maybe just the energy of it was so powerful at the time that we were both feeling it, and that's why when I went to tell him, he was like, yeah, I knew you were going to come to me with this because I was going to come with you. Same thing.
A little moment of clairvoyance kind of thing, or connection. Like, it's kind of like when people turn to each other and go, you think what I'm thinking? Let's go get hot dogs. Oh my god, that's actually what I was thinking. Normally not what you're thinking, but you get it.
Yep. What scary stories do you have to tell us?
I think the best ones I have right now, and my most recent ones, were from this place I worked at a couple years ago. So, I'm a security guard. That means I get to be at places a lot of times in the night when the business is closed and it's nice and quiet.
Friday.
Yes.
What? Come here.
So, not the current job I'm at, but the last one, I worked swing shift, and that was a 3 to 11 shift.
You keep talking.
Okay. And honestly, that shift was I honestly noticed something that was weird about that place within the first 3 days of working there. I had gotten the job from a friend at my other job. I was a lifeguard at a pool. And she was the manager on site. And my third day of me coming into work, I've been there 3 days, aka 3 swing shifts. My swing shift literally starts with the entire building being full of a bunch of computer nerds. Love them, but they're the really smart ones who knew how to do coding and stuff. And you're like, you just spoke gibberish to me, dude. But cool, I'm glad you fixed that. And my job was basically saying, bye, have a good night, drive safe. And everybody's out of the building about 7 o'clock. And that's about when I do my first patrol. First floor, second night I'm there. I am walking down this long hallway which had our cafeteria and a couple big conference rooms. It was kind of a weird one because the hall went like this, and then it had a separate hall that went to a conference room, and it all interconnected in like a weird circle. This entire building had a lot of weird interconnected circles, I now realize.
Like kind of like rooms within rooms, or like the back doors. Is that what they call it? The back
rooms? Yeah.
The back rooms.
You would almost seem like that at times, but not quite as bad. Like, you would always be able to find your way back and stuff, but it was very much like you would turn, you'd go into a room, you'd go out of that room into another hall minorly, and then you'd go down that hall and you're back at the original hall kind of thing.
Sounds like a big maze.
It kind of really, again, buildings, like anybody who's worked in an office building with actual cubicles know those places are just giant hamster mazes for humans. I am not joking. So I'm walking down the long hallway. I'm focused on the long hallway. I'm passing this the side hallway. I am seeing out of the corner of my eye, turning the corner to go towards the conference room, the tall, shadowy figure. This one, I call it human-like because honestly, it gave Slender Man vibes, but not the white face, but like very tall, very very skinny, very elongated arms and fingers.
Ooh.
I know. Honestly, his arms.
Did we give him a name?
I called him the corner lurker because he always turned corners out of the corner of your eye. That was his favorite thing to do. Because I did not just have one interaction with him, I had many.
Did other people?
Yeah. Like, anybody who stayed past nighttime had interactions with the ghost of this place. Because there was not just one ghost. There was multiples on different floors, and it was just a thing. Trust me, So he was my first interaction. He was the one that made me, on my third day of work, go into my manager and go, hey, is there anything off or a little bit creepy about this place? And she immediately turns to me with a big ass smile on her face and goes, oh, you met the ghost, have you? And I am just like, excuse me? She goes, oh yeah, there's a bunch of ghosts here. I'm like,
imagine someone just dead ass being like,
yeah, full serious, like, you know, when you're in the workplace.
That's how you know it's haunted, when people are casual about it. They're like, oh yeah, the typewriter ghost, which you should tell next.
Oh yeah, I'll do that one next. So
the corner lurker?
Yeah, so
you met him, yeah, he's here.
Yeah, no. So it was very much like people saw corner lurker all the time, and they're like, oh yeah, he does just turn the corner, doesn't he? Because I'm the one who pointed it out. But it was very much one of those, I'm like, when you're in an office setting, you try not to let your crazy show too much, but when in broad daylight, with a chipper smile, announcing to me as we're doing shift change, oh yeah, there's a ton of ghosts here, and you're just like,
and you're the night shift person.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, okay, I guess I get to go through my shift with that. And she honestly gave me some of the best advice I ever got of, if they got too much, just tell them to leave me alone for a bit. And it would work, because they also often got a bit too much. So, we're gonna just continue floor by floor. So, second floor didn't have anything. Third floor had this lovely ghost called the typewriter ghost, or that's what I called him. That is what the people around him called him. So, I had a friend named Rich on the third floor. He was the manager of his own little team, and we were all in this one little squared area with our own little cubicles. And do you know, it wasn't uncommon for cubicles just to have leftover computer parts in them. A keyboard, a monitor, whatevers. But Rich came to me one evening going, hey, was there anyone on the floor with me tonight? because he would often stay late. It would be him and maybe one other person on the floor on the opposite wing. And I'd be like, yeah, there was an other person over there. And he goes, but there was nobody like around me. I was like, no. And he goes, I was hearing typing all night. And I was like, what? He's like, yeah, through my big headphones, because he had big freaking headphones, I heard typing. I'm like, that's weird. And he's like, yeah, it was like coming from the cubicle next to mine. And I was like, let me go do a round of the floor. Do around the floor, nothing's there. I don't hear anything. I don't spot the typewriter ghost for a long time, honestly.
When was your first encounter with the typewriter ghost? Like, when did you actually hear it?
Oh my gosh, that was probably when a couple of months later, we had another reported incident before that. Rich, so for context, we had a lot of contractors and a lot of them came directly from India a lot of the time. So this poor, lovely woman is coming up to me at 9 o'clock at night going, is anybody else on the floor? And I'm like, no, nobody's on the floor except for you and Rich. And she goes, you're sure? And she goes, and I'm going, yes, I'm positive. And she's like, there's somebody up there typing. And she was freaked out. Like, Rich was casual about it. I'll be honest, I was casual about my corner lurker, but she was freaked out. And I was like, it's okay, I will check. And I told her, Rich has kind of heard typing up there before. Did he tell you about this? And she was like, no, he did not tell me. And I checked with him, and he's like, hey, you didn't freak her out with ghost stories, did you? And he was like, I didn't tell her anything. And he's like, she heard typing, dude. And he was like, oh. And so, again, a couple months later, this probably happened in 2-3 months increments kind of thing, so
fair.
It wasn't all at once. There's long periods of time where like it was silent. But I'm up there with Rich one night, we're watching a show, I'm on my lunch break, and all of a sudden I hear tick, 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 tick. Not like typing on a keyboard, like typing on a typewriter.
Oh, dang.
So you kind of can tell the difference, you know? It's like a hard hammer hitting things. And both me and Rich...
That's different, because you didn't have typewriters up there, did you?
No, there was no typewriters. Again, this is Comcast. It was a tech company. Please, typewriters. Unless it was an antique in a case, which there was not. We did not have any antiques in cases, or, like, we had
That would be weird if you did.
Right.
Honestly.
Like, we had some funky art on the walls. That's about it. Like, so... And it was very much coming from the cubicle next to him. And we both got out of that cubicle, Rich's cubicle, to walk to the next one. Nothing in it. No leftover
mold. Both were there, witnessing each other,
witnessing this. It was very much like, we're not fucking crazy. I was looking around to see if I seen air conditioner or something. No. Typing, tick, 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 tick.
It's crazy.
And it didn't, like, stop either. Like, you know how you'd pause and ding or whatever? It just full tick, 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 tick. Yeah. And suffice to say, Rich was like, well, I'm done for the night. And I'm like, yeah. And because he stayed late because he just got work done better that time. You know, like, they had a lot of freedom there. And again, I thought... Initially, somebody was just typing away, but no, there was no monitor, no keyboard, nothing in there. No chair, no nothing. And it was the best and worst. And you're like, why didn't you ever film that stuff? Because you don't think to in the moment. You really are just so fucking shocked that it happened. And you're just like, well, okay.
No, I agree, because I asked you that a while back, and I know some of these stories already, but I want her to tell you guys, obviously. But I was telling her, I'm like, you should make these, like, on TikToks. I mean, people might call it out as fake or whatever, but, like, it's still your spooky experience, and people will still dig it. There's so much crap on the internet, and, like, I would love it, you know, like a series on your TikTok of just all the creepy things.
Right. I would have loved to have done that, except, again, it wasn't consistent enough where you could.
Fair.
So
it just kind of happened when they happened.
They happen when they happen. Again, it's not. I could have filmed. I tried. I filmed every night for like a month at one point, and nothing happened. And when you kind of give up, is when they come back out.
Fair.
And they know. And then the third ghost was a girl. She was at least I assumed it was, because I couldn't see her legs. So that was the big thing is. There was corner lurker, he had a physical shadow. Typewriter, just noise. That was all they had. This last one had both kind of physical movement and a shadow. I say it had physical movement because, again, I mentioned earlier this building had a lot of weird circles, and the entrance desk was one of them. So you come in the main door, I'm right here. On both sides of me are automatic doors that have sensors on them. If you're close to them, they will open, but they only open when you're on one side of them. Like, you have to badge in from one side, but on the other, it would automatically open. And it literally went in a U, so people could literally walk in one door and then immediately walk out the other, and I could time how long it would take, like probably 10 seconds at most.
Yeah.
And it would happen. It would just be like one door would pop open, and when I knew the building was empty. This is 9 o'clock at night, everybody's gone. It's like, door pops open. I'm like, and then 10 seconds later.
Like an automatic door?
Automatic door. I mean, and by automatic, it's like, kind of like the grocery store doors, but instead of like the sliding, it was like a regular door.
That would just click open?
Yep. And
I feel like that we did that at like the dispensary. We could hit a button and some doors click open on their own, and then the other ones you'd have to hold the button until they opened it.
Yeah. Well, that was basically it, because you had to badge in on from one side and it would open it, and then on the other side, again, the sensor would sense you in, it would unlock and open.
Okay. So
again, it was like somebody got close enough to the sensor on one side and then would walk around to the other one and go. And again, I checked multiple times every single time that started happening, because it just started happening out of nowhere. No idea what. And nobody's there. Nothing's there. It is not until one day it happens, but it happens in the opposite direction. And I get up to go to the other door before the other door opens. That is when I see her. Just
the ghost?
Yeah, that again, I just skirt. That's all I really remember. Like,
how tall? Like, was it like a...
It wasn't, it was like average height. It wasn't a big thing. The prominent thing on this one was it didn't seem like it had legs. It seemed like it had a long ass skirt on.
So do you think like older woman, younger girl?
Honestly, again, it's one of those where the women in the workplace wore long skirts like that often, kind of thing. Like, it was very like Sari-esque.
Yeah.
So, like, it was one of those. It was just like.
So did you see the full body then, like from head to toe?
Like,
and for the most part, it was just kind of like head to skirt. But
it's very much, again, shadowy blob, like head, torso, kind of like, it's like a stick figure drawing of a child would do, like all in, like, if they did try and color it in, they just did pencil, like head, little bit of body, arms, and then skirt.
Okay, gotcha. That's spooky.
I drew these all out at one point, and I like passed them around, and honestly the one that got the most recognition was like, oh yeah, like that was Corner Creeper.
Oh my god.
I got so into it at one point.
I would too. I mean, if you have to be somewhere all day, you might as well make it a little bit more fun.
Exactly. And I will say it was great, and at times there would be times where I'd have to be like, guys, leave me alone, because it would just keep happening, or things would just be boo jujus. I'm about to say bad juju, boo juju. But it was just bad juju at times. Like, none of them were harmful, none of them were malicious. They were the repetitive ghosts. They were the ones who did the loops, you know? Like, they're, like, you know, I can't remember.
Like,
those.
Anytime you heard the typewriter, that's like the only thing that ghost is gonna do.
Yeah, and the corner lurker, he had more movement, but he usually stuck to that one hallway kind of thing. And again, like, they had their areas, like, but I will say the craziest thing is I was almost at that job for 5 years. In the last year I was there, COVID hit, and during COVID we started construction, and everything stopped. I mean, everything.
Dang. Sometimes I've heard construction can bring out, like, the worst in spirits, but I feel like, honestly, it could be the opposite, too.
See, I currently work at a library, and apparently there's a lot of crazy stories there, too. A lot of people have died on site.
I could see that.
Yeah, it's at the big downtown library, and it's downtown people. Like, it's...
Downtown's not a good place.
It's unfortunately not. Like, it's one of those, I'm right next to a very notorious park. I will just say it as that.
Well, also with your security job and it being a big city library, essentially,
oh, yeah.
You're trained to, like, you know, give people like what CPR?
Oh
like,
yeah, CPR,
people.
Narcan for overdoses. We have active shooter training. I got to do a little bit of Krav Maga training it was just like a class or two. It's very much we don't get paid enough at that job for all those responsibilities.
Honestly, facts though.
They can't hire anybody. I'm sorry, different topic.
It's okay. We're not getting in that. We're just gonna keep it to the ghosts.
Right.
But yes,
the thing is
it's a tough job.
Yeah, exactly. But the thing is, like, people have talked about seeing ghosts there all the time, but ever since construction started on this place, they talked about having not seen anything.
Are we still talking about Comcast?
No, we're talking about the library. Sorry,
okay.
I switched. Because I started working at the library and I work primarily day shift, and everybody knows you don't see stuff in the day, really. If you do, that's something crazy. But the night shift guys, and then my bestie at work, who's been there like 28 years, she has all the stories. Right? She does. Like, she's talking, and she usually specifically points out like one really old librarian lady ghost, and then a couple of, unfortunately, people who died. Somebody who's froze outside, somebody who's overdosed, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And just lingering spirits, very much. Okay. But she said ever since construction started, and even the night guys have reported, like, we haven't seen anything that wasn't people. Like, they were like, yeah, no, I got stories, but nothing has happened since construction. I don't know why, but construction is throwing stuff off.
Yeah, I could see that.
I don't know. I would love to see the ghost at the library, but I'd have to switch to a night shift, and I ain't doing that.
Pick up one night shift once in a while and just see if anything happens.
Oh, God.
I bet that place is scary at night, though.
I talk about all the time how I want to film like a horror movie there, because this place is like 11 stories. There is you don't understand, there's 3 basements.
Ooh, no, basements are worse than attics to me. Basements are creepy as fuck. And like, not all of them, but...
And there's 2 technically attics/roofs.
Oh.
And so bottommost basement is basically a lot of big like piping, plumbing, like big tools. But the thing is, they have this one hallway that is like the stereotypical you're running from something hallway that looks like it goes on forever, and it is awesome and terrifying to walk down. Oh, God. Like, so terrifying.
This is why I hate hallways. Like, we just had a creepy hallway.
Right.
Oh my God. Yeah, hallways, basements. Hallways are kind of the worst, though.
I think it's because they're literally, again, they're
like, whether it's just a wall or rooms. Well, like, I feel like rooms is almost worse. I don't know. Yes, again, it's the hallway is the transition place, though. It's not a permanent place. I think that's why hallways are so bad, is because it's the passing through place. Oh, you could be right there, because you don't linger in a hallway typically. You're just going somewhere. Oh, again, hallways are weird like that. Come on, again, in every horror movie they have the extended hallway, and again, it gets longer. Right, exactly. Yeah, you're a never-ending dream. And it's one of those where I think, again, I don't know why. Like, hallways are just, I think it's also because they don't belong to anybody, technically. They're open space. Ooh. It's kind of spookier to say it like that, actually. Like, even in your own house, thinking that it doesn't belong to you is kind of spooky, too. But it is kind of open space, because that's not usually where energy doesn't reside there, and the only energy that would reside there would be leftover energy, I guess. Passing energies. So, again, it's one of those, it's not somebody's room. It is not claimed, usually, by anyone. Nobody's going to be like, this is my hallway. Yeah. This in my house. Like, I can do whatever I want in my hallway in my house. That's a little weird. Yeah. Like, somebody will talk about my room, my kitchen, my, like, other things, but, like... One thing I will say about hallways, because, like, I feel like hallways also, though open space and not owned by anybody, they hold memories. Because what is normally on hallways, like, even the hallway at my dad's, family pictures. Oh, pictures. And usually people will have, like, live, laugh, love, or, like, memories. And there's always pictures on hallways. That is a good point, too. Like,
And that's also things you stop and pause on, and as you pause
You
on
reflect.
you have energy going into it. Again, hallways are just a charged place. They have, again, people go, again, it's the passing of places. Yeah, it's one of those.
Hey guys, I really hope you enjoyed this video. We really just wanted to tell some spooky stories because just the moment called for it, and we're already gearing up for spooky season, low key, not gonna lie. Tell us what you think of our spooky stories, and also we would love to hear your spooky stories in the comments. So if you have anything weird or something that you would like to share, or tell us your opinion on hallways, what do you think about that?
Like, let us know what you think a hallway is in the spiritual energy sense.
Yeah, we would love to hear. Tell us your hallway opinions and tell us your spooky stories. We'll be watching the comments, and we would love to hear what you guys say. So expect more of these kind of videos in the future, I'd say. And we will see you guys on the next one. Okay, thank you.
Bye.
Bye.